right, so here we are. I'm talking with Miss Cole. She's my site supervisor, and we're talking about the upcoming PD for, for the staff.
So, as a staff, you did the instructional leadership rounds. Okay, what was your viewpoint when you were walking through? What things that you saw that you thought could be leading to a good PD?
At the time that we walked around, I think the thing that stuck out the most to me was the lack of interaction with the teacher. At the time, we went to 3 classrooms, if I remember correctly, and we walked around, I think, more than what the teachers were actually walking around. One teacher just kind of sat in the corner because the kids were working in collaborative groups, and she was kind of monitoring from the side. She got up and asked 1 or 2 questions from the different groups, but that was about it the whole time we were in there. Another teacher was doing a review on the board, so we kind of understood that he was doing this review. He called the kids up and they would work on a problem. And then there was another one that we went to, and she was a little more interactive. It was foreign language, and they were playing a video, so she was working with the kids with the video. And she walked around a little bit more, but you still saw kids who were not as engaged as you would like, which I know is going to be common because not every kid, every student is going to be fully engaged the whole time. It's just not going to happen.
Did you, as you were walking through with telepaths coming up and we're getting ready for the writing samples, did you see students being engaged in writing across the subjects, or just specifically one subject in general?
Yeah, not across the subjects. So that is something that we were addressing because it wasn't happening regularly throughout the different classes, especially in like your math classes. I don't know how much actual writing they do in the math class, but when we were there, we didn't see any actual writing.
So in the math class, were they more taking notes or actually doing
working out problems?
Working out problems.
They were actually working out problems, and they were the ones that were also being called to the board to kind of work out the problems. So it was only the kids who were raising their hand to go work at the board. Which, I mean, I understand that kid doesn't want to raise his hand if he doesn't know the problem, but I think if a teacher was walking around looking at their papers, he could see, oh, this student got the problem right, so I should maybe get them to go up and actually, instead of pretty much the same kids every time raising their hand and participating.
So what I'm thinking of as you preparing for your doing your PD, knowing the fact that we have an issue writing across the curriculum or subjects, and then also getting students engaged in different ways, maybe if it's up to you, developing a PD where you're engaging students through writing.
Yeah, we can do different activities, different ways of doing it. Teachers have to remember that students do not have to do full-blown paragraphs just to do their writing. Even 1 or 2 sentences here or there helps get the kids in that thinking process and that writing process, whether it's for grammar, context, any of that. Anything can help throughout the day. So that's what we can be focusing on. And you're going to be doing the PD with me?
Yes, I'll come in and help you. I'll be more of a support because I want you to lead the PD, but I'll be there to add my input. Also, if they have questions that you don't know the answer to, help provide that as well.
Okay, so things that we had talked about before, during the ILT meeting, once we finished our rounds, we were talking about implementing some type of writing, especially in the non-core classes, because your elective classes don't do as much writing as far as sentence structure and things of that nature. So coming up with maybe choice boards to give them other choices so they can be creative in what they're looking for. They can do writing samples, they can read stories and then do reflections or do even student reflections on the work that they've been doing. I do a lot of student reflection papers in my class. I also have them do discussions in Schoology. It's the actual discussion board where they have to make comments on each other's, and their comments have to be full sentences.
Another good idea is having them create their own quizzes.
Yes.
and turning that into a game.
They do like that. I have one of my choice boards was Kahoot, and the kids really liked doing that as well because they had to come up with the questions. They had to make that happen. So they had the content in front of them and they did that, and I had them do it with partners so they could help each other and help each other form the questions correctly and also make sure they had the correct answers.
True. And another thing that I think we need to stress with the teachers is that, yes, this would be a lot of upfront building time, getting these things prepared for them, for their classes, but in the end run, if they keep using them each year, that building time will alleviate, so.
Yeah. So it takes a little more effort at the beginning, but then over time it really helps.
Mhm.
And then they can always tweak it, change it a little bit. That's what I do too, change things here or there, especially depending on the level of my classes. That helps me too.
So for the upcoming campus PD,
Mhm.
we're gonna have 3 different sessions, relating to what we saw in the instructional leadership rounds. And so, one would be going, questioning with lead forward,
Mhm.
then yours, which will be writing with the writing it across thing, and the other one, let me check my notes real quick, like. Need to get new glasses. And the other one will relate to, questioning strategies and discussion techniques.
Okay. All right. And I can implement some things in there on how to even do it for the do nows
Mhm.
and the exit tickets. And I think that will really help resonate with some of the other teachers who think that they have to have these really long, time consuming do nows and exit tickets. Because I hear some teachers are still doing that, and we need to cut that down so they can focus more on their actual lessons within the class.
Yeah. And then also having the 3 choices, it will allow the teachers to choose which one's more interested for them and what they need for their, to improve their, engagement in the classroom.
So, because they get to make the choice, hopefully they're gonna be more engaged and actually listen and take the notes and implement it in the classroom. Kinda like when we give students choices.
Correct.
That's what we're hoping is gonna happen.
Correct.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, thank you very much, Ms. Cole.
You're welcome, and I'm looking forward to, the PD with you.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you.
too.
Let's just hope all that recorded. Maybe you thought about them once before, hadn't really looked into it again. Sometimes it's nice to have a refresher. It was for me. One of the things I did when I went to Region 4 was I went to a technology conference and kind of got to go and see some of the things. And the choice boards were brought back up, and I hadn't done a choice board in a little while, I'll be honest, and I love it. I was like, why did I stop doing that? As soon as I came back to school, I implemented it into my classroom, and the kids are having fun with it, and we're doing some cute fun stuff with it right now. So we're gonna talk about that as well.
A lot of this stuff, it is a lot of front-loaded stuff, but once you get it done, it's a breeze.
Yeah, it's just like anything. When you're working on your curriculum, you have to build something, you have to build it. But once you build it, you can reintroduce it year after year, or maybe change 1 or 2 things for the next course, next unit. Same kind of concept. So our objectives are 2 opportunities for engaging and learning through writing. Our methods are going to be talking a little bit more about the do now and exit tickets, reflections, meaningful writings with feedback.
And we're also gonna be talking about learning stations, and that has been changed names. At one time, there were learning centers, now they're learning stations. They're also called choice boards or, task boxes. So we're gonna be discussing that and how you can incorporate that and put writing with it as well.
All right, so I think most people are doing the do nows. You I do have it on the board, I'll write it right after the bell rings, kids pick up a little piece of paper, it's really about this big. They answer the question and they are required to have complete sentences, and then I take them up and read through them and make sure they have complete sentences, and then I ask them to redo them if they're not complete sentences, and they'll bring them back to me. And I actually staple them and keep them together, and I give them a daily grade. So once a week, they're actually having to, do it and complete it. If they're absent, I just mark absent on there, and I don't count that. But it also gives me extra daily grades, each week, so that's kind of nice. So just as an example, explain the difference between a raster and a vector image. I obviously use something that goes with me, for digital media, and then they write down their complete sentences, hopefully, with grammar and all of that. If they're missing a period or something's not correct, I do try to remind them. So just a little bit. So even in the non-traditional English classes, I'm still putting together some type of writing for the kids. Every day they're doing a little bit in my class.
And when you sit here and we talk to the ELA teachers and the US history teachers, history teachers that do a lot of writing in the classes, they will all say they don't do complete sentences. It's one big, long, run-on sentence. Or it may be two long run-on sentence. So incorporating writing in the do nouns or the exit tickets will help develop them in all across the board.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out, because I am an elective course, kids don't think they have to do the full sentences or write paragraphs or follow the grammar norms. And so by me doing this and reminding them they still have to do that, I'm helping round them out in that way as well. I'm helping you guys as much as I can. And it usually only takes 5 to 6 minutes. I've heard that there are some teachers that push this and make it into a full lesson. But we just, as a reminder, the do now should only be somewhere between 5 to 6 minutes at the beginning of the class. And a lot of times I use that to get them settled down. I take my attendance, I come back, and then we talk about it, and then we move on very quickly. We have the exit tickets as well. I'll be straight up honest with you, sometimes with my exit tickets, I even do, reflections with them. And then I even put sometimes my, reflections on Schoology. I have kept everything on Schoology. I still do everything through Schoology, which has been helpful because I was out for a week, so I had work already done for the kids to be able to access and do. So I have, and it's easy to grade when it's done there as well. Alright, so. Alright, for learning stations.
Multitasking over here. Learning stations can be done in several different ways. One, if you can have it with the text boxes and use it, it's an easy way to have different levers for your kids. And that way, we're doing this for Mr. Riley's class. It's easy, you can find free ones on Teacher, Pay Teacher. You can also buy. This one right here, is a good one for, anyone. It's, a kindness box, and they have to respond to quotes. So you can have this set up in any class, and if they're done with their work and you have nothing else for them to do, they come grab a task box and work on it. And for math, there's all different types. Here is an equation one, and it's the one step, and they have to answer it, and then they also have where they also have to turn this in and submit it to y'all.
I have a, if you put.
Oh, I gotta click? Boop.
So, it doesn't have to be 5 or 6 learning stations. You can bring it to just a couple of learning stations to help them reiterate things that you're learning in class once you introduce a new subject or new unit. So you can do something pretty simple in this manner as well. Can you go back?
Oops.
Maybe not that far back.
It's the copy.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
I can
Sorry.
send it
There
to
we
you
go.
as well.
I didn't know it was a Google slide.
And then another learning station, basic same concepts. So your teacher station, you can have where you're actually gonna meet with a small group, just go over and see whatever they're doing and work with them on their, material, their information. That's your feedback. And then,
Oh, I,
we're good?
yeah.
Okay. And then we have some choice
Don't know how I
boards,
did
you
that, but
actually
okay.
click on the choice board. In case you're not sure what a choice board is, after we've introduced a unit, which I just did for my AV class, hopefully it'll work. With my AV class, which is Principles of Audio and Video, they were learning about cabling and lighting systems. Boring unit. It's just about how to do cables, how to keep them safe, with the different type of light fixtures. It's just boring, I'll be straight up. So I gave them this choice board after I went to the Region 4. I was like, oh my gosh, I used to have one of those. Found it, fixed it up a little bit. They get a choice to do one of these. This was a Wii Video, which we have a subscription for it. I think it's a small subscription, but if it's something you're interested in, I could probably help you either use some extras that I have. If you want to give your kids a choice. They had to make a comic strip. I actually have one of those for you to see that the kids turned in. And then Kahoot, of course, everybody wanted to do a Kahoot. So I had to limit it. I was like, okay, stop. Not everybody's doing a Kahoot. But we played like 3 of the Kahoot games today, and the kids were loving it. They were having fun with it. And then I introduced called Voice Thread. It's a little different. They hadn't done it before, but it's also very simple to use. You don't have to do technology. I would love it if you introduce some type of technology in your classes, but of course you don't have to. If you do want to introduce technology and you want some help with the program or need some ideas, let me know. I have lots of programs. I have a live binder with tons of links in it that I use and access all the time, and I can share some stuff with you. I should have had one of those comics up. I think you opened it twice down here. Down here.
Over it.
You can go back to the
Where?
Hover over Chrome.
Chrome thing. I lost my
Down.
train of thought.
Down?
Down.
Chrome.
Oh.
Chrome, yeah. Yeah. Where it says create your own at the very top. So this is one of my students who obviously is ESL, has some issues. But it's a comic strip, and so he had to actually talk about a little bit of the lighting. So it wasn't a lot of writing that they had to do, but they had to use information and create this. And I gave him free reign. Whatever type of comic strip you want to do, be as creative as you want. And so that's what he did. So it's super cute, and you can always print them out too if you want. So I like it. I thought it was cute.
What is there? I have a question.
Yes,
Is this so? This is a digital media class. So did he create the background, or is that the background comes from?
It comes from their program. It's called Make Believe Comics.
Oh, okay.
And in Make Believe Comics, it has all of this there for you.
The scene.
So he picks whatever scene he wants, he picks whatever character he wants, that kind of thing. He just has to type in the information.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
So it makes it really easy. They don't have to, they can add and create other things if they want to create stuff themselves, but here they can just pop it right in themselves.
I like the penguin in a tuxedo. It's fabulous.
So his personality. So when I saw it, I just thought, I was like, that's you. That is so cute. I love it. You know?
Well, I like the background because I've tried this some in science, but then the students are spending an awful lot of time drawing, and
Yeah. Yeah, and here they have so many choices. Yeah. All right, so let's go back to the other one, please. There we go. And then there's a couple other choice boards like science. You can click on that one, please. Now this I took from Region 4, so straight up. So this has a lot of choices. Of course, you can, bring it down. You don't have to have as many. Can you go back? I shared one with Miss Jeremiah. I heard her talking about working with reading Frankenstein. So there was a really great one about it. Here's some other ones. I don't know Frindle. I've never read Frindle. And
It's a
there's
fourth
some
grade
things
level.
too. And then here's all the stuff that the kids can access. Or you can print them out, if you'd rather have them print them out, you wanna print them out and have them do it, writing it, whatever. Cause some of your kids probably aren't keyboarding well, so you can do that. Can you go back? Thank you. Reading, oh, we did that one, sorry.
So you said you're gonna send this out?
Yeah, I will. No, you're not allowed to talk at all. Yeah, we're almost done. Give me one, I just showing some examples and then we'll be about done. Is it not working?
No, I was just waiting on. I was waiting for your say so.
So this is a full length one that I'll be glad to share. If you could skip down to number 7. Uh-oh, no. I guess it's further down. There's a whole more inside here that's a tic-tac-toe bingo. There's some that are already Google Slides. And again, you can just go in and change out whatever information you might want. Google Draw. I've never actually used Google Draw, so that's kind of cool to learn as well. You can go back to this guy again.
I've done one that was X marks the spot. They have to make an X.
Yeah, it's cool, it's kind of fun. But the kids, going back to when I introduced it to the students, you know, at first they groaned, oh, we have to actually, but they were into it, they were loving it, they were having a lot of fun. Then today when we implemented it and actually had them stand up and they had to present it, they had to do the Kahoot. Kids were laughing, they were doing great, kids were winning, I gave out to the winners. I'm supposed to do that, but I gave out candy. So then they started really trying harder when they realized I was giving out candy. And it was fun. We had a good time. The kids really liked it. The very last templates are just blank templates that you can then make yourself. That kind of thing. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the choice boards. Do you have, because you've used them with some frequency, and I've probably only used them once. Do you have like a minimum number of choices that you think is a good range for students? Like sometimes with students, if you have too many, my students at least, they get overwhelmed and they're just like, I don't even know what to do.
Well, like I said, when I did this unit, the cable, safety, and lighting, I knew it was gonna be boring. I knew I wanted to do something. I was gonna do a fun Kahoot game that I was gonna make. And then I went to Region 4 and went back into the choices and I saw that and I was like, why am I gonna make it when I can have the kids make it?
Yeah.
So I think just trying to reinvigorate them and get them engaged again, I think is fun. Plus, if you think about it, within each one of those choice boards, you can have them write something, type something, so they're doing the writing aspect without being told, oh, by the way, you have to write today. It's a choice that they can make. Even the comic strip, it looks like fun, but they had to write sentences, they had to get the information from their notes, so they're reiterating stuff that they've learned, and they're still typing and writing that information. Yes, ma'am.
I think to answer her question, 4, auditory, visual, tactile, kinetic, have one of each, and 4, that's a good starting
Yeah,
point.
you have 4 in the.
And so, cause you were asking how many, like 4 is a good starting point until you've implemented it more, and you've seen that your kids can handle that choice, then you can bump it up to like 6.
The one thing about these learning stations and the choice boards and stuff is taking them from that fixed mindset into that growth mindset. And when you move into the growth mindset, they're actually getting into the deeper learning that we are wanting our kids to have.
And they're having to explain it. And then if you have them actually do some type of presenting, that's huge. I had one child come to me and she said, I can't do it. I said, sweetheart, you're doing a Kahoot game, it's gonna be fun, and you have a partner, you'll be fine, you can handle it. And they got up there, and once they did, they were joking, it was fun. I didn't give them a grade for presenting, so they ended up, she was like, perfectly fine. And I didn't say anything to her about it afterwards, because I didn't want her to think about it again. But she was perfectly fine because it was a fun activity. It wasn't, a real hard concept. So, but those are just some ideas that we had. I wanted to reintroduce. Some people may have heard of choice boards before, hadn't thought about it like me. I hadn't done a choice board in a while. I just kind of got out of that mind frame. And when I went back, I loved going to Region 4 PDs. And it just reinvigorated me. I came back and I thought, oh, this is gonna be fun. And I tried it out with one of my classes and had a good time. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
So as a math teacher, I find it very hard to implement writing into what I have going on. I am probably not the best at demanding complete sentences. Well, how do you feel about things like fill in the blanks or?
You can start with that, and then as you get more used to it, having them write for you, you can slowly take the rate. Because when you look at ESL especially ESL and SPED kids, we want to give them the sentence stems. So those blanks are giving them the sentence stems and they have to fill out. And as you get better with it, slowly take it away.
Okay.
Have them make a test and make them write 3 word problems.
Let's get them to read one.
Or that can even be one of your stations,
Is
or
that
one of
is-
the choice boards, write 3, and have them as a partner, like do partner work, so that way they can work on it and make it together. That kind of thing.
Kind of a decent idea.
Yeah,
Math
adults are
lib.
fun.
Math
Adults,
lib.
yeah, kids love those too.
Yeah, cause right now, even interpreting a word problem is tough. And, yeah, so,
Reading it all is tough.
Like, have them write about breaking down the word problem.
yeah. And do you consider numbers a part of writing? Like,
Yes.
I think that's the
you
end,
gotta
right?
practice writing checks, right?
Yeah, the end. Okay, hello. I'm glad that we're able to get together. I am sorry, I know the staff meeting went a little bit longer than it was supposed to. But, you know, we'll try to get through everything that we can. So I am probably gonna be rushing a little bit because we were told to go through all these items. And then the staff meeting ran a little long, but, you know, that's the way it goes. What I did do though is I did print out a little bit of this information, so you will have it actually as a paper version, and you also get it in this version in our spreadsheet. I will share it with you also, so you'll have both forms. But instead of having to worry about waiting for you to log on and find everything, I went ahead and printed it just to make sure, in case we were running a little long on the staff meeting, I was trying to be proactive and be prepared. Also, I have some candy sitting here for you if you'd like to have any candy. Please have some. I always have candy and Advil if you ever need. So, and I think I had told everybody ahead of time in the email that I was going to be recording this. So please, you know, don't be shy. You can talk if you have a question or anything. But if you would prefer not to ask the question, then email me and I will get back with you and we can talk about it. Or once this is over, then I can talk with you and help you go through it. But really, a lot of this is basically just a review of what we've been discussing all year. Earlier in the year, we started talking about TLAC and how to use the TLAC in your classrooms, how to set up procedures and habits. And so they want us to kind of review and go over those things. Not sure everybody has been keeping up with the standard that has been set out for us for this year. So they've asked us, the department chairs, to kind of go over it with you guys a little bit more, remind you, help you. And again, if you ever need me to come into your classroom during my off period, I have first block off, and then I have fourth block off on opposite days. Just let me know, and I can come in during those times. Or if there is a class that you're really struggling with or want some help or just want me to come and take a look at, then let me know, and I will talk to Ms. Cole about possibly getting us up in there. Anyway, I feel like I'm talking too much about those kinds of things, and we're really short on time. I know that I have to get you out of here by 4 o'clock, so this is what we need to do. So anyway, so sorry, I don't mean to rush through, but I want to make sure we get done with what we need to get done. All right, so here we go. these are the things that we are having to discuss. We're discussing goal 1 of our sequence and scope and sequences format that was set out for us earlier in the year. And so really they want us to focus on the 2 C's for right now, and then we have a 2 D's here as well. So you are going to start to see the admin walking around in the classrooms for your informal observation, and these are some of the things that they're going to be looking for. So A, for our scholars, or able to scholars are seated and silently working on do now within the first 60 seconds of them walking in the door. Mine is a little bit different than that, to be real honest with you. I have the students come in, I usually write the do now once I walk in the door. And the reason I do it this way is, I'm standing at the door and I'm greeting everybody. I give fist pumps to everybody that walks in. Say, hi, how you doing? How's it going? Good morning, good afternoon, something like that. May compliment their hair or their clothing or, something. And they come in and have a seat. And they have that couple of minutes while we're waiting for the rest of the class to come in and the bell to ring to kind of chit chat a little bit. I'm hoping that gets it somewhat out of their system so then we can start. So once the bell rings, I walk in the door, I write the do now on the board at that time, and I give them from the time that I finish writing the do now, I go sit down, I take attendance. When I'm done with attendance, I give back and I pick up the do nows because I have all my do nows written on paper. And so then I will go back and say, okay, students, this is our do now. And you have till the count of 5 to get it turned into me. Because the do nows are never real deep and in-depth. They're review questions most of the time. And sometimes they're just very simple about how was your day going. Just to kind of get them hopefully in a sharing frame of mind. And it's nice to just ask them how they're doing and get some feedback on that as well. It helps with connecting with the students, I feel like. So then I read the do nows to my account. I do the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whichever. And they usually then bring them to me. I look them over, discuss it a little bit. If it's a review question, then I'll discuss that, go over a little bit. If it's a how you're doing, if they're not too private or personal or in depth, then I might just mention a couple of things and even tell them how I'm doing. So that's what I do. It's just a little bit different than this, but I think it kind of helps, and I'm trying to help make those connections as well. All right, so successfully execute in class and school-wide routines, exhibit habits of attention, tracking the speaker, taking notes, actively listening as the teacher, and making sure the students are also actively listening to myself and to others. And then follow what to do directions and redirections. So we're going to talk a little bit about those. If we have time, we'll venture down into here of what the teachers are supposed to be able to do. Again, we need to try to get as much as we can done within the time frame so you can leave on time. And please eat as much candy as you want. You can take notes if you like, or again, you can always email me if you have a personal question or something, and I'll take a look at it. All right, so let's go up here. The 2C, the routines and procedures that I am highlighting here, I've already opened up for us so we can look at it. And let's see. So, it's talking about, pacing, creating, oops, sorry, I think I put this one not quite in the right spot. I was trying to get a head start on everything, placing it. So routines and procedures is what we're actually need to be talking about. Routines and procedures. It should be on the first page that you have there, right under where it says routines and procedures 201. Revise any routines that need more attention. Do it again for the students to get used to the routine. And the first time, cut it short when you have to in order to do it again. Again, a lot of these things we've already been discussing all year. This is just a kind of a review. I know that just as humans, as a society, we have a tendency of getting stuck in the routines, and then we get bored with them and we forget them and we kind of taper off on them. Teachers do it just like students do it. So this is just a friendly reminder on how to get back into those procedures. So teacher radar, we need to know what the students are off task. That really helps when you're walking around, talking with the students, be seen, looking, watch what they're doing, see what's happening. Don't sit at the desk all of the time. Make sure you are following up, walking around, that they are actually seeing you, engaging with other students, asking engaging questions and asking those rigor questions to get them thinking, and have them also collaborate and talk with their neighbors about whatever the assignment is that you're working on. Strong start. For our strong start, a checklist that will help you out. This is a second document. I didn't print this one off and I apologize. I will print it for you if you like. But again, it is a link on that same spreadsheet that I'm going to be sending out to you, so you can have access to there as well. But I will also print it out and put it in your boxes for you too. So a do now is prepared prior to the student arrival. I always have a little note sitting on my desk of ideas and things that I can have for my do nows. Before you leave the night, make sure you just chalk down some ideas for your do nows for the next day, and then you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, what do I do for my do nows for these kids? Students should know where to sit. Hopefully you have some type of seating chart in your class. I have a seating chart, but I do mix it up from time to time to help with either my SPED kids, kids who need that special attention sitting closer, or the ones who need to be able to see better, or if you just had some, behavioral issues moving around. Students go to seats and begin to do the do now immediately. I kind of discussed that already. Teacher periodically narrates positives such as thank yous. I know most of us do that all the time, so it seems funny that we have to remind you to do a positive for students. But again, sometimes we get complacent and forget that they need that positive reinforcement just like we do. We need somebody to pat us on the back and tell us, hey, you know what, you're doing a pretty good job today. And that always makes us feel better and oh, okay, you know what, I'm happy now and I have a better outlook for the day for sure. So we need to make sure that we remember to do that for our students as well. And especially the students that are really quiet. I feel like the really quiet students who might always do the work, but they're not your bad kids, but they're not your real high level kids, they're kind of in between. Those are the ones I think we need to also always make sure that we talk to and give compliments to let them know they are being seen. Even though they're quiet, they sit in the corner or they sit to the side and they don't really make any problems or anything, but they're still being seen and that you see them. I think that's important. Just like you, Mr. Tia, I see you over there. Yes, I see you just waving and smiling. I got it. Okay. And make sure you get some more candy, Mr. Tia. All right. Anyway, quickly, efficiently review the do nows as much as you can. I review them, but then I always go back and look at them again, especially if I'm doing any type of reflection or personal type questions. And again, I don't make the personal questions like super personal, just how are you doing? How's things going? What did you do this weekend? Sometimes I'll do that, especially after spring break. I would have my do nows of me. What did you do during spring break? Just to kind of get a feel of what's going on in their lives. So I always make sure I set some time aside later to be able to really read them all to get a real good idea of what's happening. Use a timer in order to transition from lessons. That's one that I've really had to struggle with and teach myself to use. I was never much of a timer person as far as having a physical timer. I might have a timer on the clock, think, okay, you know what, we're gonna do this for 10 to 15 minutes, and then if a child says, oh, Miss Williams, I still need another 2 or 3 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay. But I think with the timer that I've started implementing more and more, it seems to be a little bit better, and the kids have gotten used to it, so they know that they need to get this done within that time frame. And I even, just to let you know, I even set a timer for us in here, so I make sure that I don't go over time so you can leave on time. And so when you hear the beep, 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 I actually did put a timer on for us too. All right, any thoughts or questions? No, okay, okay. I know, my group is always a quiet group. Okay, so next, successfully execute class school-wide routines. Let me see. And then we also talk about the strong voice, so all of that is here as well. It's still within the phase 1. Routines and procedures, again, making sure that you're still following procedures and routines. And if you change it up, make sure that your students know that they've changed it up, that you have changed it up, and that's the new routine, and stick with that routine so they get used to it, they know what is happening, so that you are not throwing them any curveballs. They need to know what's going on and things have changed. So if you question them and oh, I didn't realize we were doing that now, that's not a real viable explanation, considering I've changed the routine and we've been doing it for the last week or 2. So let's get back on task and let's get done with what we need to get done. Plan and practice the rollout, plan the ideas, the modelings of what you're going to be doing. I know that is hard. I have a hard time also taking the time to plan what I'm going to do, exactly what I'm going to say. I've got 5 different preps, so it's really hard to do that too. Most of you guys, since we're all electives, have that issue too. Hold on, yeah, it's right. We're talking about that one. That one right there, Ms. Gonzalez. Yeah, we're talking. That's phase 1. I might have accidentally stapled yours out of order. But you don't have to just raise your hand. You can ask me questions. Actually, it'd probably be good if you ask me some questions, but that's okay. Anyway, so yes, try to plan out what you're going to do, what you're going to say, as much as you can anyway. So, strong voice, we're going to go right into strong voice. I want to make sure we have enough time for that. We had a small workshop on that before winter break, and I thought it went really well. I was in one of those groups, and I have a strong voice in the sense that I actually have a silent voice almost. So when I am trying to talk with students, get their attention, if they're all talking, I start talking. I make sure I'm at the front of the room and I'm planted still, and I start to talk. And if they're not quiet, then I just kind of stop and I put my hands down and I look around. And there's always some kids that will go, shh, shh, she's waiting, she's waiting, she's waiting. So I don't have to raise my voice, I don't have to get loud, I don't have to be strong like you might interpret the word strong being. But it will catch their attention, and little by little they hush themselves. And it's gotten better and better that it doesn't take as long, at the beginning of the year until they figure out what's going on. It's better now that it just takes a couple of, not even a minute or so, before everybody starts getting quiet. And then I start talking and explaining this or that or what we might do or something, or even just talking going over the do nows. And once the little chit chat starts up again, I just stop what I'm doing and I just smile at them. And usually they realize, oh my gosh, she's got quiet, and they'll look over at me, and then I can continue. And there are also times when I will say, oh, this side of the room over here, thank you so much for being quiet, or John or Jane, thank you for looking at me right away, I appreciate that. And that usually flips them around and start paying attention to me a lot more. So you don't have to be strong in that sense of being loud or overbearing or aggressive in any way. It's just letting them know that you are the strong one, you're the authoritative one, and they know that the procedure is to pay attention when you're just standing there watching them. It works really well, I feel like. When giving instruction, use formal registry, including tone and word choice. My word choices, I'm always trying to include vocabulary that they're going to see and that they hear. I will even ask them, I'll say the sentence and I'll ask them, what does this word mean? Sometimes I have to pick out a student here or there because you don't always get much involvement, especially with your high schoolers. A lot of times they think they're too cool to want to respond to you. They want to get the good grades, but they don't want everybody to know how smart they are and this kind of thing. But yeah. So I strike a pose, basically just standing still, and I look around and they'll get quiet and then start paying attention to me. And I do give the compliments of thank you for paying attention. And I do address my students as ladies and gentlemen most of the time. I try really hard not to call them kids or children. I try really hard to say ladies and gentlemen. Scholars is something that we've been asked to call them, but that's not a term I'm used to, so I'm still working on that. I'll be straight up honest with you. I'm still working on remembering to call them scholars, but I do call them ladies and gentlemen all of the time, and I ask them to be respectful, and I'm respectful to them, and we move on from there. All right, let's see. I'm trying to go through this fast. I'm sorry. I keep chit-chatting. I can tell you guys are watching the clock because I know this is a review and I understand it's a review, and I apologize. Setting routines for group work or small work for engagement purposes. I just finished doing small group. I started doing group work with my students, and that is the timer. We've run out of time. I don't have enough time to go over everything else. I'm so sorry. Hopefully next time the staff meeting won't go so long. And again, I know some of you have questions or comments you want to make, you just don't want to on camera, and I understand, but I do thank you for coming and listening. I'm going to turn this off, and then you can ask me questions if you want to, or email me. I do answer your emails, and you know that. I answer the emails, and I will help you do whatever I can. Anytime that you need me, I'm here to help you. And okay, I know you guys are starting to get up.